Hello everyone, now we'll start the discussion on chapter number 16, sampling movements. This chapter primarily discusses the concept of sampling distribution, which I will explain you later in this chapter, not in the beginning. Primarily, you are going to see movements which you have already seen for the population. Okay, so population movements like mean variance, standard deviation. Now we are going to see the same movements for the sampling purpose, right? So you have population, complete data set. Okay, and there are some difficulties because of which it is not possible for us to select the whole population for our analysis. So we go with the sampling. So we will randomly select these samples and you will have a sample set. Okay, now we are saying that based on this sample set we are trying to derive some inferences relating to the population. So we know the population movements, and in same manner we will also see the sampling movements. If you ask me, like from the GARP's perspective or this particular chapter, the way it is given in the GARP's book, I'm not very convinced. The order in which everything is presented, it was very much possible that it could have been presented in a better manner, so you get a proper idea. And there are a lot of things which are half explained, okay, not fully explained. The logic behind the concept is not given, or if it is given, it is explained in very difficult manner. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to explain you the exam important points. One, second, what you should remember, and third is I will add my explanation, some explanation which is not given in your complete curriculum. So I will add that explanation for your understanding purpose. But I know some areas where even if I give you explanation, it is hard to digest the concept for exam purpose. Okay, in that particular area I will tell you to just remember and just trust me and remember those key points and go for the exam, because GARP is also expecting you to do the same. Okay, so this will be our goal, and we have to study this particular part in very a different manner. One more thing, I recommend you to study this chapter just 50 to 60 days before exam, not very like 6 months before or 5 months before. Like say if you are appearing for May 21 exam and not for the November 20 exam. Yeah, so the reason is there are few key points which you are supposed to remember, and those key points are a bit tricky, and there are chances that just with the replacing one word student might make a mistake in the exam. So again, my recommendation is if you study this particular chapter a few days before the exam, then everything is fresh in your mind, all the trick points you will be able to remember and you will be able to tick in a proper manner. Okay, so this is one thing you are supposed to do for this chapter, and same is applicable for other chapters, and wherever it is required I will specifically mention to like you to do this. Okay, that is remember key points and understand few points like this. In case you find this chapter difficult to digest, then simply remember the key points. Don't rush for or don't run behind the explanation or understanding. It will just consume your time, and it is highly likely that even after consuming so much time you will still feel confused. If you overthink on these concepts, it will create a complete mess for this one chapter and for the other chapter as well. Okay, so in sampling movements, or as we discussed, that this chapter primarily discusses the sampling distribution part. So in sampling distribution, we have two discussions now in 2020 session. First, which directly relates to hypothesis testing. This part of sampling distribution is already discussed with your hypothesis testing chapter. So hypothesis testing chapter's discussion starts with this part. Okay, and then there is a sampling movement discussion where we are going to study about some biases of sampling distribution, what is skewness, kurtosis, mainly a repeated discussion with new type of explanation, and which relates to the sampling part and not the population part. So we have studied the kurtosis, skewness, then mean variance, standard deviation, all these things for the population. Now we will study all those things for the sampling data set. Okay, but we use a specific technique which is known as the sampling distribution. As I already told you that this particular sampling distribution technique, I will explain you later in this session, not in the beginning. Okay, so we'll start with the basic understanding of sampling movements. So why do we use the sample? As you already know, it is not possible for us to get the complete population data. Maybe it is for it creates your analysis complicated, or the thing is like you will have like big data set and you are not interested in using that data set, big data set, or it is very difficult for you to get all the data points, like the complete population data points. So you will go for the sampling. And there are some instances like the complete population data is not observable, so you cannot get the data. Okay, it is not for the like you don't want to save the time, you cannot. In practical scenario, it is difficult to get all the data sets. So for in those scenarios, we go for the sample. So if you have the sample, we will try to estimate the population parameters using the samples. Okay, so population parameter is what is the mu of this sample using the mu estimate. So we will use the sample data, try to estimate the mu, and this is mu estimate, meaning you are trying to estimate the population's mean, which is the average value of the population values, right? In similar fashion, we will also get the standard deviation sigma variance estimate or standard deviation estimate. Fundamentally, concept remains the same, except for there is a primary difference between the variance of estimate and variance of data set, which I will explain you later. But here you are going to see these concepts, and these concepts are very same as the population, because ultimately your goal is same. You are trying to derive the same parameters and you are trying to estimate your population data. Okay, so first in the discussion is mean estimate. So try to remember or recall the formula of mean for the population. The same formula, divided by n, that is summation of all the values in the x and divide by n. This x here is your sample data. Okay, and this estimate, because this is estimate, so we want to see if this estimate is correct or not compared to the population. So this estimate is called as, this mean estimate is called as unbiased. Unbiased estimate. Unbiased meaning if you derive mean from this data, then the difference between the population mean and sample mean is unbiased. Unbiased does not mean equal. Unbiased means there is no variance or the like big variance from this estimate to population. So this estimate is able to derive value or the that particular mean of the population. So we call it as an unbiased estimate of population. So mu estimate, you have to remember this point. Mu estimate is the unbiased estimate of what? Population mean. And what is the formula? Formula is also important. Xi divided by n. Then you have this second formula. Second formula is sigma square estimate, which is a variance estimate. And variance estimate's formula goes like summation xi minus mu hat square divided by n. This is your same formula as variance for the population, right? But this is biased estimate. Very important point. So variance is biased estimate when you use this formula, that is divided by n. Mean is unbiased even if you use the same formula, population means formula. Okay, and why so? Why is explained, not very much explained in this particular section chapter. So there are different books where all these concepts of sampling movements are explained in very lucid manner, like properly explained each and everything. The proper order is maintained there, but GAP used certain order, which I don't know like what was the reason, but yes, it is there. So you don't have, we have to deal with it, whatever is given in your syllabus, and we cannot change those facts. But I'm trying here to make sure that you understand at least whatever is important for the exam, even if you are not able to explain or understand the why of this particular part. Then second is sigma square estimate, which then becomes S square, that is standard deviation square or variance square for the sample mean. And here we are trying to find out the unbiased estimate. We want to see the unbiased estimate of variance. So unbiased estimate of the variance, the specific formula goes like x minus mu square, same formula except for denominator is changed. So see here, denominator is n minus 1. So if you use n minus 1 in the denominator, then this is unbiased estimate. So if you use this formula, then we will see, or we will say, that this variance is able to estimate the population variance. This is the fundamental rule which you are supposed to remember. And because see, there are some assumptions in the statistics, so and those assumptions are not necessarily true in real life, but those are the assumptions. Without those assumptions you cannot actually execute the statistics. So you have to assume certain things, and based on those assumptions, these are the inferences which are derived, like biased estimate of standard deviation, unbiased estimate of standard deviation, and unbiased estimate of mean. Okay, so if you get question in your exam like find out the variance, so which one you should find? In ideal scenario you should always go for unbiased estimate. If GAP specifically mentions that find out the biased estimate, then you should go for the biased estimate. Otherwise, unbiased is the common rule. So commonly you have to find out the unbiased estimate. Then there is a simple illustration. Illustration is we have 6 years return of say stock ABC, and values are 6%, minus 2%, 3%, 8%, minus 3%, and 4%. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6, you have 6 values. So these are the past 6 years returns, and based on this you have to find out the mean and standard deviation. So what is the primary measure, or what are the tools we have available to estimate these values? Just a second, let me connect the calculator. Okay, so here we will use our statistics function from your TIBA2 plus calculator, and first you have to clear your data, second clear work. Okay, and now we will start feeding our data. So 6 is your x1, so you have to first see x1 is visible on your calculator, press 6, press enter, down, then press minus 2, for minus 2 press 2, then press plus minus button, which is bottom keys. Okay, press minus 2, enter, down, then press 3, enter, down. Now you have x4 is 8%, enter, down, then minus 3 minus plus minus sign, enter, down, and x6 is 4%, enter, down. So you are on the x6. Okay, now you have to press second stat. You are in the linear regression mode, so linear mode is fine for us for this particular purpose. Now we will start pressing down. So when you press down you will get 6. When you press again down you will get x bar, that is mean of x, which is a mu estimate. Okay, and the result is 2.667%. This is your mean, that is average of 5 years returns. One thing. Second is sigma square estimate, which is first we will find out the biased, then we will find out unbiased. Unbiased is denoted as S square. Press down, you will get SX. Unbiased value is 4.366. How do we know that this is unbiased? Because we know for Sx, this is the sample standard deviation, and in sample standard deviation, the formula which is used is numerator, that is summation x minus x bar square divided by n minus 1. If you have n minus 1 in the denominator compared to the second formula, which is the biased version is summation x minus x bar square. I'm not writing specific notations here, divided by n. So if you divide by n to some value, this value will be lower compared to if you divide by n minus 1, this value will be higher. So if you see, Sx is 4.36, which is the standard deviation of sample, and if you press down again, you will find sigma x. Okay, sigma x is, the value is 3.9, 3.98 percent and percent, all values are in the percentage form. So this is your biased value, this is your unbiased value. So biased value is slightly lower, so variance is biased, meaning variance is slightly reduced here in this case when you are finding out the standard deviation or the variance. Yeah, one more thing here, this is under root. Okay, we are trying to, here the value which we are getting is the standard deviations value. If you want to find out the variance, then variance will be square for both the terms. So it doesn't matter, you are smart enough to understand like what we are trying to find out here, that is variance or standard deviation, right? So even if I'm mentioning variance, you should be able to understand that what we are talking about, that it is standard deviation and variance, and you should not directly rely on GARP on this particular part. Like variance is not used as a standard deviation in exam, it will not happen. That it might be used interchangeably. That variance is used as a standard deviation is used as a variance, even though actual meanings are very different. But if you have some context, then you can easily understand what is the meaning in that particular case. Okay, so then we don't have y's value because we are just dealing with one variable. So you got your standard deviation, both biased and unbiased. Mean is always unbiased. Okay, you can also remember like this, unbiased variance will always be higher than the biased variance, always. This is very basic thing because formula is like this. Okay, so this is your first part where we are trying to estimate the variance and the mean from the sample data sample data, and this is for the specifically for the sample. Next is again a bit theoretical discussion which relates to sample movements versus population movements. Okay, one sample movement, second population movement. Population movement you already know. Here we will see only sample movements and with reference to population movement. I'll just hide the calculator because whenever we will need, I will get it back. Okay. Now the central tendency was a concept we discussed in the hypothesis testing. So from the central tendency, we know what is the meaning of the central tendency. That is, your data will be surrounded around the mean. Okay. So if this is your mean, your data will flow like this. So maximum data will be near to mean, and as you move away from the mean, your data population or the frequency or the probability of falling or getting particular data point in that region will be lower and lower as you move further. Very simple. Okay, so this diagram simply tells us that larger data is around the mean, and if you move away, then the data points go smaller and smaller. So this is a central tendency which gives you the center, again the repeated discussion. Then you have the population mean. Now population means formula is denoted by mu. If you have complete data sets or all the data points from the population, you can simply go with this formula. And mu estimate, which is for the sample, mu estimate This is also known as the true mean. When you are using the sample, this is the formula is mu hat is equal to summation xi divided by small n. There is a difference, capital N and small n. So this capital N is for the population, total data points in the population. This is for population and this is for sample. Okay. So nothing special here, because at the end you will use n, whatever the data points given in your question, you are going to use n. So primarily you are not supposed to remember anything here apart from the basic formula, and anyway you will use the calculator, so you are not expected to remember the formulas. Okay. The next is properties of moments. Specifically mean. Here we are discussing mean only. Okay. So for all, this is what you're supposed to remember, but this is very general data, so anyway you will remember. So all intervals, and you need to remember in this same sequence. Even if you understand the concept and you are not able to remember the same statement, then this will cause problem. So please remember the statement as it is. For interval and ratio data set, all interval and ratio data set have an arithmetic mean. This is your arithmetic mean. Arithmetic mean is not a different concept. Then there is a geometric mean. So geometric mean is not discussed in your syllabus, so I'm not explaining you here. So you have to remember arithmetic mean, and your calculator gives you arithmetic mean, not geometric mean. Okay, so what is interval data and ratio data? Interval data is very same, like any data which moves with certain interval. So 1 2 3 4 is also interval data because it moves by 1 unit, like that. So you don't have to worry about like what is interval data and all. Then ratio data is very simple, like velocity, acceleration and all these are the ratio data sets, like which is per unit of data or per unit of measure, which is ratio data set. Okay, kilometer per hour, kilometer per hour, this is a ratio data set. Then second is all data values are considered and included in the arithmetic mean computation. Again, this is very obvious, like all data values are considered and included in an arithmetic mean. So this relates to when you have sample data, you should include all the data. It should not happen like because this is sample data, you have 100 sample points and you are just taking 90. So it should not happen, because then it will create some different types of problems. Again, not discussed in your syllabus, because you have to then train, test and all those things. Here it will not happen, but in case of regression that will cause a problem. Okay, and that problem again depends on which data values are left out. Now next is a data set has only one mean, which is arithmetic mean. Okay, so very easy to understand, like there is nothing to remember. So first is for the interval and the ratio data set. So most of your data will be interval or the ratio data sets, and it will have compulsorily have arithmetic mean. Second is all the data values are considered and included in your calculation. Very simple. A data set has only one mean. So yeah, of course there will be only one mean. Okay, then we have the variance. So this was for the mean. The mean discussion is over. That is mean estimation or mean movement of your sample. You remember, mean is the first movement of your central tendency. Okay, next is the variance, which is the second movement. Third is kurtosis, skewness. Fourth is kurtosis, variance and standard deviation. So formula for the variance estimate is sigma square divided by n, and of course covariance will be 0 because you have single variable. So any particular variable's covariance with itself is always 0. Now see here, some students get confused between this in this part, that is variance of estimate. So you are finding out the sigma square estimate and you are using the sigma square only. So you are using variance in variance formula. Okay, don't you think this is problematic? So no, because both the concepts are different. This variance tells you like how data is distributed, how data is spreaded across your uh, across the observations. Okay, so is there a high standard deviation or lower standard deviation? This variance of estimate tells you how estimate is spread. Okay, what is the problem with the estimate? What is the deviation with the estimate? Tells you deviation in estimate. Okay, and this is the point where you will feel like you are not getting the concept, so I will explain you. So what we are trying to do here, so when we said like we are trying to estimate the population data with the help of sample data, so we use the particular concept. The concept is known as the sampling distribution, which should have been explained by the GAR in detailed manner, but it is not discussed. So this is your sample, oh sorry, population, and say in similar fashion like there are 1000 boxes or 1000 data points for you. So we randomly select say 20 observations from sample for sample. We call it as sample 1. We will calculate its mean, okay, and we will call it as mean 1 because it is from the sample mean, and we will reserve the value. Okay, so you will get some value, so you will reserve the value. Then we will do the same again 20 for second sample. We will call it as mean 2, then mean 3, mean 4. So rule is every time you have to get 20 samples because you have decided 20. You can go with the 500, 400, 200, 100, whatever you like. There is no compulsion on taking 20 samples. You can take any number of samples, but here we are just assuming you are taking 20 samples, and based on this you will find out the means, total means. So here also you will get one mean and mean, so on, for all the possible sample sets. So it should include all the observations. So every time you get 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, you have to repeat this process for so long, as long as your all the combinations are covered. How many means you will get? You will get NCR means, which is a combination. Okay, NCR as in we have 1000 data points. R is your 20. If you take 500, then you will go for the 1000 500, and whatever is the result here, so those many means you will get. Okay, now you have means, all the means. Based on this you will create a distribution of mean. So here you have all the means based on the sample set. Okay, and this is your mean estimate, and we say that this mean estimate is equal to population, and variance of this estimate, see, variance of estimate is your sigma square divided by n, which we used in the hypothesis testing formula. So this is kind of your standard error of your estimate. So you are estimating, but there is a standard error in this. That's why the formula uses the sigma square and then we divide it by n. So what you should do to reduce the variance of your estimate? Just ask like simple solution. Simple solution is simply increase your n. So if you increase n, say it is 100, so automatically your estimate will be estimate's variance will be lower, and this is also logical, right? So if you have, say, assume that this is your student score in the FRM exam. Okay, so score in FRM exam. So some students will score 100, some will score 10, some will score 50, 75 and so on, right? So we don't know the exact values, but there will be like 1,000 different values. Now in these 1,000 different values, if you just go with the sample of 2, you are taking 2 data points every time. So sometimes you will get 110 and based on this you will build mean. Okay, so your mean will be so spread out, like in one case you will get mean as 100, in one case you will get mean as a 10, 50, 20 and so on. So there will be proper spread. If you have spread in these values, the mean values, so when you will plot the distribution of those means, our rule says that your mean will be proper. Okay, this will be again unbiased estimate, but your variance will be higher because you are taking n is equal to 2. Now what if you take 100? In same situation you take sample of 100. In this particular scenario, automatically your all these mean values will be closer. Okay, so if your mean values are closer, then automatically you will get the distribution. Mean should be the same, but your variance will be lowered compared to what it was before because you are dividing it by n, that is 100. And what will happen to the numerator? Numerator will be same because this is population's variance. Because this is population variance, mean should be variance should be same, variance will be same because variance will not change based on whatever your sample is taking, right? Okay, so what is the logic of doing this? So this particular facility, the sampling distribution specifically, allows us a very important thing, and that important thing is, even if your this particular data, the population data is not normally distributed, this particular data is not normally distributed, but sampling distribution of this data will always be normally distributed. And because this happens, even if the actual data is not normally distributed, your sampling distribution is normally distributed, we can use this particular part for our hypothesis testing. Okay, so because in hypothesis testing you need standard error, you need mean and you need estimate, so it should be a normal distribution because you use z values or t values depending on the situation, and it should be normally distributed. If actual data is not normally distributed and you don't know, say you don't have the concept of normal sampling distribution, then you have the problem because you don't have any other solution for this. Okay, so sampling distribution allows us to use hypothesis testing for the population, right? So you need to remember this particular part, again not explained in your curriculum, but this is the reason why you use variance estimates formula is equal to this, and why we say mean is unbiased estimate. Okay, then there are few properties again for the variance. So variance of estimate is totally dependent on sample set. Why? Because you have n in the denominator, n in denominator. So of course it will be dependent on your sample set. Next is your variance, that is sigma square. We should not use sigma square, simple variance of your estimate will reduce if you increase n. So if you increase n, your variance will be lower. If you reduce n, your variance will be higher. Simple. This is very easy to understand. Nothing is complicated here. And the last one is large sample size will decrease difference between difference between variance and population variance. Estimated variance, estimate variance, and population variance. So just remember these points, okay? And I guess like by now you must have realized what is the problem. Okay, what is the problem with this particular chapter? There are a lot of these type of statement where you have to just like know the concept, but still you have to remember it in very specific manner. Okay, and then you have the formula for standard deviation. Okay, estimated standard deviation. Estimated standard deviation formula is simple, same, mu hat square divided by n, as we discussed, like it is in the square term and divided by n, and this is your biased variance. So you need to know the difference between estimate sigma square or sigma square estimate. So sigma square estimate is estimating the variance of population, okay, but variance estimate, this is, where is variance estimate? Yeah, this variance estimate is estimating the variance of estimates, like how your mean estimate is properly derived or estimated, if there is any difference in that mean. Okay, is there any problem with that mean? So if you remember this was the most tricky point. Okay, so this variance of estimate and estimate variance, these are the most like very confusing point. That's why I told you in the beginning, like there are few key points which are so complicated or entangled with each other that the chances are student might make mistake. Okay, so now you have everything fresh in your mind, you will be able to approach these concepts properly. Then one more concept, estimator and estimates. Estimate and estimator. What is estimator? This mu and sigma which you are using, these are the parameters. So these parameters are estimators. So these are the parameters which are helping you in estimating the population parameters, right? So that's why we call it as an estimator. What is estimate? So mu's value is set 10. The mean of population is 10. So this is your estimate of mean. So exact value is estimate. Estimator is parameter which helps you in estimating that value. Very simple. Okay, nothing to discuss in detail here. Then we have the next discussion, estimator bias and so on. So my recommendation to you is, first take a break, read content till this point, clear all those concepts whatever is given here, and then start the estimator bias. Okay, if you just consume everything all at once and then start to read, maybe it will be confusing. Okay, so I'll take break again, we will just stop, read it, and then move to the next part. Thank you.